Get asked all the time, what are the best stretches for Little League baseball players, for youth baseball players? We're going to go through some of those stretches that you can use prior to games, prior to practices. I see a lot of exercises, a lot of stretches. I see them done improperly, not stretching what we should be stretching before a game. You see this one over the head where they're stretching this way, across the chest. You don't see as many good hamstring stretches. You don't see as many good rotation stretches. Prior to games and practice, we like to use dynamic stretches or we like to use active stretches. Active are very good because they target some of the tissues in the same way that static stretches do with prolonged holds, but I'm activating into that range with the muscles on the opposite side, the muscles that perform that action. So we'll go right into it. I'm going to show you 3 of our favorite stretches for Little League baseball players all the way from the ground up. So 4 stretches. We're going to go through a hamstring stretch. Very important. Athletes need to have the ability to get their chest out over their front foot when they're throwing. They need the ability to rotate. They need flexibility in the back of their shoulder. It has to be done the right way. And then pec flexibility. So I'm going to go down on the ground for this first one. Internal rotation sleeper stretch. We've talked about it before. We've demonstrated it before. Have to make sure you're doing it the right way. We love this one because you don't have to force it. It's a very light stretch, something you're going to have to reinforce with your Little League guys, your youth guys. Let them roll back a little bit so they're rolled predominantly backwards. They got their arm out here at around 90 degrees here. They're just letting their arm fall. So you can either, if they're flexible, they can just let it hang. If they're a little more restricted like I am from throwing my whole life, I can just use 1 or 2 fingers, just barely touching it, keeping my shoulder down in the socket, compressing the socket, and retracted in the socket. So what I'm doing is I'm actually pushing my shoulder down or back and down. So it's like I'm pushing my shoulder into the ground here and down towards my feet at the same time. I won't get the same range of motion as if I let it go here versus there. You can see the difference. I'm targeting that posterior capsule. I'm targeting the posterior rotator cuff. What I like to do from here is some active internal rotation where I'm taking my hand and turning it towards the ground, making sure I'm still pushing on this angle, pushing down that way and that way with my shoulder. Actively trying to turn my hand down towards the ground. So you put your hand here, you can say high five me. And then I can go and push the other way. So I'm pushing into external rotation against the stretch lightly. So a great stretch to start with is that sleeper stretch, that internal rotation stretch. Don't overdo it. Some kids got a lot of mobility in internal rotation. Avoid the stretch. If they don't, which happens quite a bit, especially in the injured population, it's a great one to utilize. So instead of doing this, do that. Now I'm going to show you a pec stretch. I'm going to overlay it over this video. And when you're doing this pec stretch, you want to make sure that the elbow is in a position that doesn't cause impingement at the shoulder. So too high or too low, you can feel some pinching in the shoulder. A lot of times it's less aggressive with the elbow a little bit lower. Stretch through the pec, stepping forward with that one leg. You can incorporate a little rotation through the chest. You can do this against the fence or against a pole. Do it against a machine, in the gym, against a wall, against a corner. We use it all the time at the field, just against the fence or against a pole on the fence. There should be that option at most fields. It's very rare you come to a field without anything. Use the backstop if necessary. So we do a pec stretch, we do an internal rotation stretch, activating in. So I'm pushing into the pole. I'm pushing into it. Then I can contract and try to pull my arm back farther. Good stretches for Little League guys. You gotta cue it the right way. It's gotta be taught the right way. So make sure you're focusing on exactly how we're doing the stretches in this video. The next one is gonna be a hamstring stretch. So, hamstrings often very tight. I see it all the time. And it limits their ability, like I said, to get out over the front foot. So the way we like to do this is bend the knees. It's a fallacy that you have to have your knees straight to stretch your hamstrings. You don't. Bend your knees, get your fingers all the way under your toes, all the way to the knuckle. Then from there, weight on the heels, weight on your heels, push your butt to the sky. I'm trying to straighten my knees, pushing my butt up, keeping my low back as flat as possible. Much better stretch than your standard hamstring stretch because it allows me to target the lateral, the biceps femoris muscle, which is one of your lateral hamstring muscles, usually the tightest, most important for your follow through of your throw. And I'm activating the quadriceps and muscles on the opposite side to teach them to contract into that new range. So I'm going to hold that stretch for around 30 seconds, actively pushing into it. If my knees start shaking, that's all right. Don't need to do too much stretching before competition, but if you're going to do it, you might as well do the right thing that's going to increase flexibility but get them ready for their game. If you're going to do it, you should do it right after a brief warm-up and then get into these. And we've done other videos on stretches, so if you missed those, go check them out. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future videos on stretching. But I want to show you the last stretch now, which we're going to incorporate rotation. So the way I like to do this is I can have guys lay on the ground, put their mitt under their knee. In this case, I'll use a foam roller because I'm at the gym. I'll put it under their knee. I'll put their glove under their knee so they don't fall too much like this. And then I'll have them push their knee that way while they let themselves rotate this way and fall back. So it's not how far you can reach or how far they can fall this way. It's more like you're unwringing a towel. So I'm pushing my knee that way, reaching this way, not extending too much through here. I'm just holding. Should feel a stretch across here. Little guys like to make a lot of compensation, so you have to make sure you're doing the stretches properly. That will also hit pecs. So we got 2 stretches that'll hit pecs: hamstrings, internal rotation stretch, and a thoracic rotation stretch. These are the things you got to hit most importantly before games, before practice, if they're restricted. Preferably, we like to do stretching after competition, but if you're going to do it before, make sure you're doing it the right way. We're not doing the standard, okay, we got these and then we got this one. So we're mixing it up, making it more specific and more beneficial for you guys. Let me know what you think of these stretches. If you're going to try them out, let me know in the comments section below. And then in our future videos, we'll cover some more variations of dynamic stretches that you can use with your baseball players that are going to be even more beneficial for their performance and their training.